One. What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Miami Hurricanes After Dark. We got a great group of guests coming on the show with us tonight. Very excited. There is so much to talk about. I know a lot of people were kind of bittersweet about the Pittsburgh game. At the end of the day, guys, we did win the football game. Auburn, Tennessee, University of North Carolina did lose. So every win, man, you got to definitely enjoy, because we don't get a lot of wins at the University of Miami the past few years. But hey, let's enjoy this win. Ross, where do we even begin, man? Going into UVA, talk about the Pittsburgh game. There's so much to talk about. The depth chart was just released. The wide receiver room, it's up for grabs.
Well, I got to say, man, I was really anxious to see how we would look after we got smacked in the mouth by Clemson. To me, a team that's trying to get its footing and rebuild and get to a winning kind of a status or caliber, you got to get smacked in the mouth and be able to respond the next week. It's just part of the process, in my opinion. The Pittsburgh game, I got to say, it was one of the oddest 4-touchdown passing games I've ever seen from a quarterback in my entire life. If you just look at the raw stats, it didn't look like it was just awful. The completion percentage wasn't great, but just an odd performance to me overall by that offense in general. But hey, man, we didn't play our best football still, and we got to win. So I'm definitely stoked about that. Mike, man, what'd you see in this Pitt game, bro? What really stood out to you?
Individual play, Couch, number one, individual play from him. Who else? Individual play. Obviously Mallory. I was expecting more of a game from him with Brevin being out, but the thing that stands out to me, man, is like you said, the ability to respond. A couple of years ago, maybe you would have lost a game like this, but Miami's undefeated this year in games that they're supposed to win, and that to me is just, what more can you ask for? Winning against Clemson would have been icing on the cake, but then we know how hard it is to beat a team twice, especially if it was them. So if I had a trade, obviously I would hopefully, if we get to meet them again in December, win that game. But Miami's undefeated in games they're supposed to win. Paul, you were talking about the roster and the depth chart. I just love how Manny keeps proving people wrong, man, because everybody's like, oh, man, he's got favorites, he's got this, he's got that, or whatever. And he's got the pulse of this team. We got to remember that he was a fan first, literally was a fan first. So he wants to see everybody, he wants to see the team win more than or just as much as we do. So putting an open competition at wide receiver, that's the Kane way. And that's a Jimmy Johnson move. So I'm just the feels, man. He has a feel for this team, and we'll see how the young guys respond.
Absolutely. No, it's going to be very interesting. We saw a lot of Corey Flagg, Sam Brooks playing in against Pittsburgh. A lot of fans wanted, young freshmen to get more snaps.
Yep.
We saw that. We're seeing that a little bit with Keyshawn Smith. We saw Xavier Restrepo return punt returns. It's open competition this week against UVA. Dorian, what were your thoughts, man, about Pittsburgh, the game itself? Any takeaways that you have?
Much like Mike and North Fresh stated, right? Love the fact that we bounced back. I know a lot of fans were concerned coming in, including myself, right? Coming off of that Clemson loss, right? There was a lot of concern as to how we would bounce back. Would we lose twice to Clemson, basically? Thought the team played well against a very good Pitt defense. Love what I saw out of the young guys, in particular Harrison Hunt. He really stood out. Jafari Harvey stood out for me. Flag, definitely. I was in the group chat, constantly mention his name, right? He looks really good, or he looked good that game. Brooks looked good as well. Offensively, a lot of work to do there, but I expected Pitt to make us look how we looked that game, right? But overall, got to be pleased with the win. We're 4-1. Last year around this time, I believe we were 3-2, maybe, after 5 games. So, things are looking up headed into the Virginia game.
Definitely. And, that's a good point you made. This is a good Pittsburgh defense going into this game, defending the run. They were fifth in the nation. They stopped teams to roughly 46 to 50 yards per game. Their defensive line had 5 sacks per game. And, they have a very good safety in Paris Ford as well. So ultimately, in my opinion, I think this is going to be the best defensive line Miami sees moving forward. It was Clemson, Pittsburgh. UVA is not going to have this good of a defensive line. NC State as well. That we just probably saw the 2 best defenses in the ACC moving forward. North Carolina, they have a great offense, but defensively they're awful as well. So Miami has the ability to run the table. But before we get ahead of just running the table, we still got to take care of business against University of Virginia, and that's a scrappy football team. Bronco Mendenhall, he had a solid program at BYU. It wasn't a great program. It was just a solid, good program. He's a good coach in college football. I mean, Ross, what are your thoughts going into this UVA game? Because they might have Armstrong back, who was their starting quarterback against Clemson. He had a concussion against NC State, I believe.
Yeah. I was doing a little bit of research on Virginia, and it appears that they actually have 3 quarterbacks that they're willing to put on the field, give or take certain scenarios. It seems to be the 2 guys mostly, the 2 main guys. It's Armstrong and number 98, I believe. And 98 seems to be a guy who's coming in to do a lot more running than passing, honestly. He's a bigger physical quarterback who can run. One thing that really stood out to me, though, that the big difference, especially for us on offense, the big difference with Virginia and Pittsburgh is that Pittsburgh defensive line wasn't just a singular unit. They had their second and third string guys do a damage against us too. I don't see Virginia being able to do that. Yeah. And the Virginia linebackers and their secondary, if we can get past that initial rush with our run game, I think we can house a couple of them pretty long, honestly. I don't think that they have the speed in the backfield that can catch up with us if we get past that initial rush. And no matter what we do on defense, they're going to look for Lavelle Davis Jr. They're going to go to him. They're going to have him be physical. They're going to look to high point the ball an awful lot. That's one guy we got to watch out. I try not to make a big deal about freshmen, but man, that kid's got it. He's got the goods.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned 3 different quarterbacks as well. I mean, their starting quarterback, Armstrong, scrappy quarterback at the college football Power 5 level. The funny thing is, their backup quarterback is number 69 or 90, some weird number. You can tell he wasn't an offered quarterback coming out of college. It's kind of emergency mode. Here, you're in, man. So, no, I completely agree. I mean, UVA, as we see in the past, I mean, they're a solid team coached under Bronco Mendenhall. We saw that. They had a lot of good players the past season. It's a rebuilding stage, but Miami should take care of business. We do have a habit of playing down to our opponent's level. Mike, what do you think Miami needs to do against UVA to compete and win this football game?
I'm looking at I know numbers don't say everything. I did not watch the UVA Wake Forest game, and I'm not throwing any shade at Wake Forest athletes or anything like that. But these numbers that I'm about to give you are picture perfect for a Miami offense, and I'll explain in a second. But 75, 49, 39, 40, and 32. Those are plays of yardage wise that Wake Forest had. Big plays, chunk yardage that they had against the Virginia defense. So Miami, throughout the year, they've shown that they are better at explosive plays than they are at matriculating the ball down the field. So Kenneth Walker III had a 75-yard run on the ground, finished with 128 on the ground. Of that 128, like I said, give me 1 second. No, 75 were on the ground on one play. Ja'Cory Roberson had a long of 49 through the air, finished with 126. Donovan Green had a long of 39. He had 73 throughout the air. A.T. Perry had a long of 40, a total of 53 on the night, and Taylor Morin had 1 for 32 yards. So if they're going to give a plays like that plays right into the hands of a Rhett Lashlee type of offense, which we've seen it week in and week out, explosive plays. So I think this is going to be a firework type of game for the Miami offense.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Miami doesn't really develop a long drive to score. It's really just kind of a big play. And that's how Miami scores, very fast in that sense. We saw that with Jalen Knight and Cam Harris against Louisville. We saw that again against Pittsburgh with Will Mallory and Cam Harris. A lot of design plays, see what the defense gives us. Hey, right. It looks like we can really take advantage of this.
Right.
So I completely agree with that matter. Absolutely. And Dorian, I mean, what would you like to see more from the offense going into UVA?
Uh, I think we gotta somehow find a running game again, right? I
Yes.
mean that has been lost since the Florida State game. Now, granted, we've gone against two of the best defenses that we'll face. But I still expected us to run the ball a little bit better versus Clemson and Pitt. But that's number one, right? I mean, Rhett Lashley is a balanced play caller, right? He really needs to run game, and I don't think we could just sit back and drop King back 40 times and expect to beat these teams, right? I think we got to somehow find a wide receiver to catch the ball downfield. That has been lost, right? We haven't found one all season. Hopefully, of the 6 guys that I believe that will play, we can get some production versus Virginia. Virginia is giving up about almost 40 points a game. Looking at their, last 4 games that they played. However, though, when we play Virginia the last couple of years, right, it's been very, very low scoring. I think Virginia is going to come in with the same game plan, so to speak, as Clemson did and as Pitt did, right? Load the box, stop the run, and King just going to have to beat you, right? If he can beat us downfield, then so be it. We'll have to live with that. Mendenhall is a very good defensive mind. And I think we'll get challenged until we can prove differently. I believe it's going to be a struggle for us to score, right? I mean, until we can make some plays downfield, explosive plays, right? We hit a couple with Mallory and Harris, but those 2 type of plays, we're not going to get those 2 moving forward. I mean, they were great play calls, but I need to see something more fundamental downfield. Like, give me a 20-yard post, right? Give me something downfield versus, a fake run and we get a wide open Mallory and Harris. I just can't see, teams moving forward. We're being able to convert on those.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty much my take.
To your point, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead, Mike. Absolutely.
To your point, about being balanced, that's 100% true. I'm trying to go back, but my internet's kind of tripping. I believe Miami ran the ball 43 times, even though they averaged less than 3 a carry. That's huge for balance because the last thing you could do is become one-dimensional. But yeah, just to piggyback off your point, Lashley does a really good job of staying balanced.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as an offense, we are going really up tempo, and I do appreciate that. We do have a lot of 3 and outs, which is something we need to fix, guys. Going into this game, as an offense, we were 7 out of 30 and 20-plus yard passes as well. I think we're kind of, I wouldn't say the word regress. I mean, we were in a zone going into the Clemson game, and then I don't know if I don't know. I mean, Rhett Lashley, it seemed like a lot of people said Brett Venables just, hey, he showed him who's boss, out-schemed him. A lot of people stated that. What do you guys want to see more from Rhett Lashley, moving forward? Because why aren't we just throwing middle of the field, more drag routes, more slant routes, more crossing routes? I feel like we're very repetitive at times in our plays. And, I know the wide receiver group needs to step up. They dropped a few passes at Pitt that, would have made King's stats a lot better. A lot of people are also stating, De'Aaron King, he needs to roll out of the pocket. We need to, roll him out. He can't see over the defensive line. I think we need to get that spark back offensively because in a sense it kind of has gone down a little bit. But, what are some ideas you guys had?
I was on my show earlier. I had Stephen Cheatham or Steph from stateofu.com, and he was saying that I'm just going to regurgitate what he said, that he feels that there may be a thing to King's height. And him having maybe some trouble seeing down the middle sometimes. So to make, and if that's the case, obviously he's not in the locker room, but that's just how he feels, and it kind of makes sense. But to answer your question about what we would like to see, and he brought it up, move the pocket more for King. We really don't see rollouts, or am I? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember any really rollouts either way of the on either side of the field for King. So maybe a little bit more of that. I'm a huge advocate of our tight ends. I mean, we got two of the best ones in the country. I would love to see more of those. Doesn't matter which one. I mean, you look up, Mallory was open almost every time he got the ball thrown to him. So those two things I would love to see, obviously.
Ross, what about you, man?
I mean, one thing I still got to see, and it's something that we've all talked about before, but I mean, I still got to see our wide receivers fight for a damn pass. I mean, all DC, this isn't what I mean, I guess the right way to say this is with our issues on offense, it's not difficult for any DC in the nation to drop a plan to try to throw us off a little bit, to crowd us short, to try to stop space, from short passes and letting guys break out, daring us to go one-on-one deep and trusting their cornerbacks and knowing our guys really aren't going to physically fight for the ball. That's all day for DCs. They enjoy that because they have a bunch of guys crowding around the line. They can show different kind of blitz packages from that, all that stuff. I mean, until one of our wide receivers truly shows it, I don't know if any are gonna, but in a game like this, I am more than happy that if these older guys aren't putting it together by halftime, by the second quarter, let these young dudes get some real burn, like not 3 attempts or 3 targets, 5, 6, 7, possibly for guys like Smith, a guy who's a true spread option. Let's get those guys moving in here. I'm tired of seeing the same old shit from the same old guys, honestly.
You know what, North Fresh, I'm excited about the offense and what the potential, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, if King returns for next year, not to look too far ahead, we basically saw our entire offense on the field against Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't know if Cam Harris would come back, but King is the main one, right? I mean, you had Nelson starting at the right tackle, the entire offensive line should be back, the running backs, all of those wide receivers plus King, right? If you give that group an entire spring, right, an entire summer practice, I think we're going to look much better, right? So I say that to say that, we're missing some cohesiveness, right? I mean, you can almost see it on a lot of plays. I think Brevin Jordan, him coming back versus Virginia is going to help. I also think that Lashley could make it, he needs to draw up something to get King in rhythm. The start of the Pittsburgh game and the start of the Clemson game has been really, really rough. If you compare those two starts, maybe like the first 2 or 3 drives compared to the first 2 or 3 drives in the first 3 games, right? You can tell, I mean, he got in a rhythm in those first 3 games versus the last 2. I think we need to get back to that, and that'll kind of open things up, as we progress in these games. To you guys' point, Paul, we definitely need to get some stuff underneath, like, use our speed, right? Our speed isn't just vertical, right? I'm Pope can separate, right? Why? I mean, get him underneath on a drag route. Harley is quick, right? Get those guys underneath versus, just throwing bombs down the field, which we have a low percentage of completing, right? I think we need to get some easy throws other than horizontal, right? We get the throws out in the flats, but get some stuff across the middle. And I think that'll help us as far as, opening the passing game up and making it a little bit more easier on King to move the ball.
If I may,
I want to piggyback real quick on just sorry, Paul. I just want to piggyback. I want to piggyback just real quick though, and I want to ask Dorian a question about that. Do you think that, I mean, you're saying you want to get King in rhythm, and I totally get what you're saying. Do you think that some of that is being prevented due to the fact that they are crowding the line and they are holding steady in the box and we're not getting a lot of space right there?
Not really. right? I mean, if Lashley is one of the best offensive coordinators in college football, right? I mean, you can't be stopped just by that, right? Just by the defense playing bare defense, right? Just by them putting 7-8 in the box, right? I mean, you should have a counter to that, right? Um, so uh I don't think that game plan of people just daring us and manning up on the outside is an excuse, so to speak, or even a deterrent to do something different, right? I think it's other ways to move the ball and get people open. Um, provided that we got the athletes to do it, right? It's not like we don't have the talent, right? I mean, we could do it. It's just putting these kids in the right position to do it. And not saying that he's not totally right. I mean, I just see some things that we could do more. And I'm pretty sure he sees the same thing on the film and probably will open it up a little bit more. I mean, you see new formations, right? I don't know if you guys noticed, right? He came out in a full house backfield. I believe he had 2 tight ends in the back and 1 running back, right? So he's doing some things different. He started with Cam and Knighton Rooster in at the same time. So I think progressively we'll start to see some things.
Then Mike, did you have to piggyback something off of that?
Yeah, because he was talking about getting King in rhythm, and I think, like I said, I'm not the hugest, or if that's even a word, the biggest X's and O's guys, but part of looking at it the way I see getting King in rhythm, especially in this tempo offense where you want to go and go and go, incomplete passes. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Incomplete passes, obviously, they suck because there's nothing to go off of. So, a short pass is like it's like an extension of the run game. So even if it's just a positive gain of 3 or 4 yards, okay, you build on that, you build on that, you build on that. That in the short passes, maybe that's part of the reason why we see a lot of the quick outs or here and there, just to kind of get them in rhythm, to get the snowball effect going, not let defense sub. And before you know it, if you get 2 positive gains of 3, maybe even 4 yards, all of a sudden you're looking at a 3rd and 3, a third and 2. So, and that's easily manageable, especially with a guy as explosive as King. So, I don't know. Maybe that's why we keep seeing that, because he's probably thinking like this. Look, let me just get him in rhythm first. Get him in rhythm. Get him in rhythm. Get him in rhythm. But at times it does work. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what keeps it from not working at times. But I'm okay with seeing that happen. I'm okay with seeing a lot of that, as long as the tempo's there and the positive yardage is there, and we're looking at 3rd and manageable rather than 3rd and longs, as you said earlier, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about King right now. Personally, for me, something I've been stressing a lot, I would like to see more from De'Aaron King. I would like to see him think run first instead of pass first. Be more aggressive in the run game. Inside zone reads, keep the football instead of giving it to Cam Harris. Remember, he's a very good runner we saw at Houston. Just like to see him be more aggressive in that aspect. It opens up, a different element to the game of football that Miami and opponents have not seen. So that's something I want to see from De'Aaron King, because in my opinion, I don't see him as an NFL quarterback at the next level. I see him as a college football playmaker, the Pat White, the Shane Buechels, the guys like that, who make plays in college. This kind of follows up to my next question, guys. Do you guys think De'Aaron King, first 5 games, has he been the quarterback we've expected so far at Miami? Or, we're still trying to just see more and more of King and see how he fully develops. We may not even have that question yet. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll take it. This is pretty much what I expected. King is, he threw a couple of interceptions. A few weren't his fault. But overall, I mean, I'm pleased with the quarterback play. I'm not sure if I want him running more than what he's doing right now. I think he ran too much in the Clemson game. I mean, he, a couple hits, right? Weren't good. so to speak, right? He ran 11 times versus Pitt. But overall, I mean, I think he's doing a great job leading the team, right? I mean, a lot of the issues that we have was a lack of leadership at that position. I think he gives us that. I think, he gives us good decision making. He had one bad throw in the Pitt game where, they kind of fooled him and undercut the ball. But, overall, I think he's protecting the ball, right? I mean, we had turnovers last year. I think if the wide receivers could help him a little bit more, I think, the stat line would be a lot better. But overall, I mean, I think he's given us what we expected. I would love to see him come back next year and build on this season. But, I think we're going to win at least 9 games, right, with him as our starting quarterback. And, that's a huge improvement compared to last year and what we had under center last year. So, I think he's doing a great job.
I'm all about having King take off on some earlier downs as far as first and second downs when a team's not looking to make a high impact stop on third down and he's just scrambling to try to save a first down. If he can get those 4 to 5 yards while getting himself down and avoiding contact, that's only setting us up for great things on second and third down, in my opinion. If we're consistently 3rd and 5 or shorter, we can do that against Virginia all day, in my opinion. We can make that happen. What I'd love to see for King, I think King has been the guy that I expected him to be. I would like to see a little more touch on his downfield passes, honestly. That's the one thing I haven't seen from him yet that I'd like to see. But the leadership, everything else that came along with him, we're seeing it already. I mean, to get smacked in the mouth and be able to come back and beat a team like Pitt with a good defense, that leadership is vital at quarterback, and he's providing that for us. I do believe that.
Yeah, the leadership is a huge point because that was that was my biggest thing coming into the season is this cancer that Manny kept talking about, is that, that whole bad vibe, is it still here? Obviously there are some defections, which maybe those defections were the meat of this problem, of this cancer that Manny kept talking about, and negative vibes and all that stuff. So the leadership part, definitely, we heard everything about him in the offseason, working with the guys, on the side, or being the first guy in, last guy out, all that stuff. But in terms of if he is bringing what I thought he would, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at, ESPN.com right now, and I know, like I said, numbers aren't everything, but you got to go by what you got to go by. And in terms of total passing yards, right now he's 21st in the nation, 1,079 passing yards. He's averaging 7.1 completion. And in terms of touchdowns thrown, he has 10, just threw 4. And that's good for 15th in the nation. He's tied for actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in the nation for touchdowns thrown. 4 interceptions. A few of them, one of them he threw, I heard the announcer say it, that it looks like he thought it was a different coverage. One of them against Pittsburgh, he thought it was like whatever it was. I don't know. He threw it on the right sideline. Didn't look like a good throw, but he's no dummy, man. He's no dummy. And this guy cares. This is his money year, whether let's say he does want to leave. This is his money year. So he's putting everything out there. He wants to play. So we're going to get the best of King, at least the best effort of King. And it's only 5 weeks in. We're pretty much in the middle of the season because it's shortened, but it's still only 5 weeks for a team that didn't get spring ball or all of spring ball, all of summer. And I don't know how much of fall was condensed. I'm not complaining, man. This is the most explosive athlete we've had at this position probably ever. And Lashley knows how to use him, man. So in terms, if I was to give him a grade, nobody's perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say A+ or even an A. I'll probably give him like a B+, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a complete 180 offensively from the past few years under Coach Mark Richt. Was that like Dan Enos? And man, I give it. Some people like James Coley. I wasn't the biggest fan of James Coley, but that's just my opinion moving forward. Or Mark Whipple either. I mean, we saw against Pitt, old school kind of coach. Yeah. Moving over to the defensive side of the football, guys, this has been a really hot topic. Blake Baker's defense. A lot of people. I mean, this is either you're for Blake Baker, you're against him. You either love Mike Rumford, you don't. I mean, this is a hot debate right now, guys. Like a divided family on this one. I mean, what is everyone's thoughts, overall? We're 5 games into the season. How do you guys feel about the defense? I'll say this, man. Pass coverage for me has been a major issue. There's been too many open guys. Specifically, we'll talk about the Pittsburgh game. Joey Yella, a lot of his receivers didn't help him out. He made some bad throws. There were a lot of guys open. So Corey Couch, did a great job in pass coverage. But, after that, Blades did all right. I think he did pretty well. But, there were a lot of open guys. So what do you guys think overall? And feel free. Ross, you can go first, or whoever.
I feel like, and especially with you guys bringing up the point already that we didn't have spring ball, I feel like there's a lot of guys, especially younger guys, who right about now are getting in their groove, because this is kind of the amount of time they would have normally played to kind of get the playbook figured out and get their legs under them. So for the defensive part, I honestly have really high hopes going forward, because what I'm seeing is a willingness to adjust and bring in some of these younger linebackers. I want more snaps for Flag. I want more snaps for Brooks and guys like that, so we have that speed there. But I'm seeing a willingness to change. It's not just, stubborn and we're only going to play certain guys and it's just going to be the way it is. I have a lot of high hopes for this defense in the second half of the season. I know guys are down on Baker right now, but as long as he's willing to keep showing that he's willing to adjust, or at least try to, I'm willing to keep giving him shots.
Absolutely. What about you, Mike? What do you think about the defense so far?
I'm a full supporter of Rumpf and Blake, simply because if they're all right with Manny, they're all right with me. We've seen Manny is not afraid to make changes on the offensive side of the staff or the defensive side of the ball. But so if they're living up to his expectations, whatever. And Manny, he's shown last year he's going to do what it takes to get things rolling on that side of the ball. Example: Virginia Tech linebackers looked lost. Insert Manny throughout the week leading up to Virginia, complete 180, and at the end of the day, you come away with Manny's first win against a ranked team. Virginia was ranked number 20 at that time. And you can see it was completely different defense. Manny inserted himself throughout the week. If he has to keep doing that, obviously there's a problem. I do think that the defense is kind of coming along, but I'm okay with the bend but don't break. I get it. That's not Miami defense. That's not how we do things. I get it. But you want to know what? We're never going to see defenses of 2000 again. We're never going to see 91. We're just never going to see that, especially with everybody running things spread wise. There's speed everywhere. Okay. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the guys. I'm just trying to look at it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? And, if as long as you see something and you fix it, like you said, Ross, kind of like on the offensive side of the ball, hey, wide receivers shape up or ship out. It seems like they're doing that at the linebacker position, and I'm okay. You got a rotation with the line that's always going to be there, and I just hope we get better, man. I'm okay with Blake, and as long as we don't see no crap like we did last year, that what happened at UNC. Then I'm all right, man. But they seem to tighten up when it matters. Every time you get in the red zone, it seems like they bottle things up. So, like I said, it didn't seem like it, but Miami allowed 22 yards on the ground on Saturday, and it didn't seem like it to me. I had to look at the box score like, what? So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Dorian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Mike kind of mentioned a great point. I think we as fans gotta adjust to the time, so to speak, right? No longer are the days where we're gonna just be holding these teams down, and I looked at the SEC, right? Anytime you got Alabama, it's like the third worst defensive team statistically in that conference. The times has changed, right? You just almost just gotta just say forget the yardage and just focus on the points allowed almost, right? I think bend but don't break is the is the mantra for the majority of college football defending these spread offenses. So overall, I think Baker is doing a pretty good job. Could we be better? Yes. I think, the team is defensively, other than how we look versus Clemson, Pittsburgh, you really can't gauge it because, I mean, we played a backup quarterback, right? I think if Pickett would have played, we probably would have gave up more points. I'm afraid if Pickett would have played, we probably would have lost the damn game. But yeah, I mean, I think we're doing pretty good. I mean, it's hard to ask for more at this point. As long as we win the game and outscore these teams, I think Baker is safe, so to speak. But people say it's his defense, right? I mean, shit. To me, it's Manny's defense.
Right.
I mean, Baker has sprinkled a few things in, but this is his defense. And he won't allow anything that he doesn't approve. So I'm pretty sure he weighs in heavily in the game plan and in the adjustments. But overall, I mean, I'm pleased. I'm pleased, but not necessarily satisfied. I mean, that North Carolina game at the end of the season scares me. And also that Virginia Tech game on the road as well.
Yeah.
Really?
Here's a stat, and I was just looking, and again, I'm sorry to cut off. It's just I'm going to forget if I don't say it. Miami, according to ESPN.com, is allowing 396 yards per game defensively. Alabama's allowing 458. Alabama's played 4 games. Miami's played 5. So take that for what it's worth.
Yep.
Wow.
They damn near gave up 1,000 yards versus Ole Miss, man.
Yeah.
And you know what people seem to forget, man? That's you're going up against an Ole Miss team. Lane Kiffin is going to coach against Nick Saban with a chip on his shoulder every time. He's going to know Nick's tendencies all the time. So all these people, saying whatever about Bama defense. I mean, Lane Kiffin, what could you say? This is a guy that we were kind of hoping as fans would take the job at one point. So just like I said, take those numbers for what it's worth.
Are we playing too many guys on defense? Like whatever. Like how did the guys back in the day? Like I used to never see Sean Taylor coming out of the game, right? Like you never saw Rumph and those guys coming out, right? I mean, like why in today's game we have to rotate like 20, 30 guys?
I have a thought on that. So, I mean, you look at the amount of safeties Miami recruits, right? It's like they got like 5, 6 a class, it seems like, especially, the last one or whatever. But you want to keep those guys happy with playing time. And with the way the teams are spreading things out on offense, look, Miami's down to playing 2 linebackers, okay? You got a hybrid safety linebacker with a striker. So you want to match that speed. If not, I mean, you don't see anybody rolling out a 4-3 anymore. Traditionally, Miami's defense looks like a 4-3, but that third linebacker is a striker. So, I mean, that's why I think, especially if you're going up against a team, with tempo or whatever, you got to keep the guys fresh. More so on the line than anything, but that's just my non-defensive coordinator outlook on it. So
I agree with you, Mike. I truly believe that a lot of this has to do with the new age offenses and stuff like that. We're not just seeing ground and pound where a lot of the guys in the front 7 are getting a lot of the work. We're not just seeing short passes. Guys are having to go sideline to sideline a lot more than they used to. And if you can have fresh legs in, why not? I mean, I think it's just part of the whole new age offense in the NCAA.
Anything else, anybody, Ross, you want to add before we move forward from the defense? Anything you want to pick someone's brain off of at all you can think of?
I do have one question for you guys. Who so far, I mean, we always talk about our lovely defensive ends and all that kind of stuff. Is there anybody that's not getting the credit they deserve that should be getting some more credit right now?
Good question.
Just should be getting some more credit.
Yeah.
I don't know about credit, but I do believe that there's some guys that should be playing more. Harrison Hunt should be starting, right? I mean, I don't know Ford is not, and maybe I'm not watching him enough, but to me, the eye test tells me that he's making a much more of an impact than Ford, right? Love what Nesta is doing. I think he has picked his game up from last year to this year. Roche and Phillips are doing very well. I think Harvey had a really good game last game. Love the young linebackers with Brooks and Flag. So I would, at bare minimum, they should be splitting those reps 50-50 with McLeod and Jennings. Corey Couch made a really good, he played really, really well last game. DJ Ivy, I think he's played well.
Yeah.
It's the Louisville and UAB games. So love what he's given. Bolden, I think he should not come out the game unless he asks to come out the game. Unless he tap the helmet that he wants to come out. He should be on the field at all times. So that's my assessment of the defense on guys that I believe that should be playing more or either starting.
Before the season started, and help me out with this, guys, because I'm saying something, but I'm also asking for help at the same time. But before the season started, I said for Miami's defense to take that next step. Yes, we got all-stars, and this was after Rousseau decided to declare or opt out, but still had a line. It's that awesome bookends and all that stuff. So I said for Miami's defense to take the next step, they just need one defensive tackle, just one to wreak havoc. And it's not double-digit sacks. It's just get to the backfield, because the worst pressure for a quarterback is where? In his face, up the middle. So as long as you can get there, make him, look outside the pocket or, just collapse the pocket, then fine. I like what Nessa's been doing. Really haven't, heard his name much, and I know people say that more for defensive backs. You don't hear their name called, it's a good thing. But this is the part that I'm asking for help. I mean, the guys are getting there. I mean, we all know the situation with the ends. They're gonna get held every freaking game, and it's to the point that it's blatant and it's damn near it's kind of want to strangle somebody. But I mean, help me out, because and I'm talking about defensive tackles or anybody on that line. Like, I like Nesta, but I feel like the defensive tackles are doing their job in terms of passing downs, like kind of making things uncomfortable or making it hard for the quarterback to get things done. Am I right on that? Am I wrong? Help me out.
I think we're getting more push this year on the inside, especially like you said with Nesta. And then you got a guy like Harrison Hunt who's coming in on rotations, and we weren't getting that on rotations last year. It just was a fact. We weren't getting that. So I think in that aspect alone, we got to figure there is some improvement in that area.
100%. I mean, you got to tackle the future for Jared Harrison Hunt.
I also, Harrison Hunt is playing really well for him not to have played last year. But, can't underestimate the loss of Greg Rousseau, right? As you notice, we don't play that NASCAR type of package anymore, right? With the personnel that we have, right? Last year, I believe we moved Greg in the inside, right? I mean, and he caused havoc in the inside.
He did.
With the loss of him, right? We can't, or we haven't, to my knowledge, we haven't been able to even put that package in. I think, Phillips is playing very well. Although he gets held off damn near every down. Roche, I mean, he's playing excellent as well. But as far as in the interior, we don't have Harrison Hunt is our most athletic defensive tackle. And I think there's an emphasis moving forward on recruiting in that space as well. But we just don't have the athleticism on the inside. Thus, we played the NASCAR package in the past.
Elijah Roberts is going to, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to move inside. Obviously, I think he's redshirting this year or whatever the case is, not getting snaps, but came in as an end from Columbus.
Yeah,
he's going to be moving inside. He's going to be athletic. In terms of what you're saying about the NASCAR package, Amari Carter was lining up as a freshman on the D line. He was lining up at deep tackle. Matter of fact, that pick six that Trajan had against Notre Dame, there were 3 freshmen on that play: Garvin, Bandy, and Carter. And Carter
Yep.
was lined up at D tackle on that play.
Yep.
I don't know why they're gone away from that, but it's definitely something to keep
Yep.
an eye out on.
Moving away from the defense, guys, before we wrap up the show, got a couple questions left. We got to talk about recruiting, at least a little bit. Amari Daniels released his top 2 at Georgia and Texas A&M. I thought Texas A&M was on sanctions for they couldn't recruit for 6 months or something like that. I could be wrong. I could have sworn I read a headline like that, but whatever. He's in his top 2. James Coley putting in the work. Jake Garcia, if you have not heard, guys, he's playing high school football in the state of Georgia again at Grayson High School. A lot of people think it's a good thing that he's playing there because Ja'Kai Clark went there, and his high school coach loves Miami. How do you guys think about this class and its last 2 spots? Are you guys upset about Amari Daniels not including Miami? A lot of people thought, I think there was even a crystal ball of him going to Miami as well. By 247 Sports. So, what are your thoughts with the last 2 spots? Because there's been a lot of discussion about this, and a lot of people are very curious how we're going to finish.
Well, I would never be upset, of a kid choosing to go elsewhere. I may talk junk privately in the chat, but I would never be openly upset. But I think we have to be concerned, right, of not taking 2 running backs in this class. If Cam declares and Burns hit the portal to get more playing time, we're down to 3 backs. And not sure if you want to go into a full season next year with just 3 backs. But can't knock a kid for one playing time and, seeing his opportunity elsewhere. We've known all season that Texas A&M was pretty much his top choice. And I believe we got into the picture, after, Thad had committed and we wanted a second back. So, it'll be interesting for him. I can't see him going to Georgia. He probably will take Texas A&M. But, with regards to the last 2 spots, ideally you want a quarterback. And obviously cornerback is a glaring hole in our class right now. So we got to find a way to shore up those 2 positions. You want to take a quarterback every year. Mm-hmm. If King comes back and that would definitely help. Right. I think we need a bridge to our next quarterback, and him coming back would be that bridge. But yeah, you want to have an elite quarterback, and you need another cornerback in this class. And anybody else, if anybody else elite wants to come in, like the DT from Louisiana, then you got to figure out a way to kindly release somebody in the class to make room for a kid like that.
These are all good problems to have, man. We were hoping to be in a position like this a few years ago. Like, damn, do we want this guy? Obviously, like you said, Dorian, that cornerback is probably it's the glaring position to need. There's some people out there that say take a quarterback every class. Okay, cool. If it's down to it, I'm probably in the minority. I'm probably not taking a quarterback. If I had to pick between quarterback 2 spots, I'm taking a corner, and just because of need, a running back. I hate, and not to say I'm passing up on Mason. If he says I want to come, you're coming, and I'll figure out who the hell else that other one guy is. All right, probably going to be a corner. And we can go transfer portal for a running back, whatever. The thing is, offensively recruiting for this team, I don't think it's going to be hard to find a quarterback, and I don't think it's going to be hard to find a running back because of the way Lashley's system is. You can find a high 3-star guy or even a 3-star guy. It just doesn't matter. It's not going to be hard for an athlete period out of Alaska to make plays in this offense. So I'm not worried about more so who it's more fit than anything, but I was surprised about Amari, I'm thinking he was coming here for sure, but I'm not gonna lose any sleep over. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, we didn't need him because you never want to lose a local guy, especially a highly rated local guy. But um, it's early, man. We'll see. We'll see what we pick up. I got complete faith in the staff.
I actually have a question for you guys. And it's a name we haven't brought up yet, and it's a name that conjures up some different feelings. But what about Terrence from the Vols, man? What about him at Tennessee? How do you guys feel about him possibly being that impact type guy we bring in with a maybe a little troubled past? What do you guys think?
I want him. I mean, I, I've openly said that on our one of our previous Zoom chats. I would take the chance on him as long as he's proven throughout this entire year that he's changed,
Hmm.
and he hasn't had any slip ups. I would, of course, do all the checkups and talk
Hmm.
to coaches and talk to family members and do all of that. You know, do all of that stuff before I actually sign him. But if everything checks and clears, I can never knock giving a kid a second chance, right? A grown man, then that's something different. But I can't knock giving a teenager a second chance at an education, first and foremost. In addition to representing the city of Miami. If it's a kid from out of state, I wouldn't be saying this, right? I think you owe the local kids more of an opportunity to prove themselves for the greater good, and we need them, right? I mean, an elite linebacker, right? I mean, if this was if this wasn't a position where we didn't have uh, or if this was a position where we were full and we were just adding a body, a five-star body, then I may think a little different. But I mean, we're talking a position of need in addition to offering a second chance, right? I mean, because the success story of it, right, if you look at the success story of it, of you giving this kid a second chance and he turning it around and balling out from Miami and graduates or comes close to it and goes to the NFL and balls out. I mean, that looks great.
Yeah.
But again, I would make you have to check all the boxes. You have to do your due diligence before you sign a kid who has had issues in the past. And if all that clears, then I will welcome that kid with open arms.
For me, it's a decision I'm glad I don't have to make because I think it's hard. You Everything that you just said is true, right? Say all the boxes check off. Now we're Miami, okay? So, Miami's taking a chance on a kid that hits women.
Yep.
The optics of it don't look good. That's one thing. I am completely with you. Give it a guy a second chance, but think about it from. And I'm not saying that you're not. I'm just saying in general. Think about it from the non-football side of it. Let's say he gets in trouble for farting too loud. Okay, NCAA is going to come knocking at the door, and that's the last thing Miami needs because they are itching to come back into Coral Gables because we got away with one with Nevin. And so I'm just, as long as I could, as much as I can control what I can control in terms of that, I'm gonna do it. But like I said, man, it's hard because what happens if he is truly changed? You don't know that. Only time tells. He can be, but if you're Manny, how do you know? Manny's not a wizard. So,
Mhm.
like I said, I'm glad it's a decision I don't have to make. But I
Mhm.
definitely would take his talent, no doubt. Willie Williams, they took Willie Williams years ago. Donovan Layla had to put a letter out to the students and saying, "Hey guys, look, this is what we're about to do. We're bringing in this type of football player with this background, da 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 da." And it was like, oh my god. So
That
I don't know,
kid
man.
would that kid from day one would be the most talented linebacker that we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Talent wise. Not saying that, play wise as of yet, but just talent, just raw.
Yeah,
I mean, hell,
yeah.
we don't have it, right? And we have to get kids like that, um, in order to compete, right? I mean, that you see him on the Clemsons, on the Alabamas, You see him on the Georgias, right?
Yep.
I mean, we got to keep those kids home.
I hear you.
And not to say we to sabotage our reputation, but damn it, Tennessee got a hell of a reputation as well. I mean, they don't have as many chips as us, but this isn't like some rinky-dink school that he would go to other than us. We're talking Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's a reputable SEC powerhouse that seats 110,000 people at their stadium, right? I mean, so I mean, again, if it checks out, I would do it. But if it doesn't, if it's anything sketchy and I wouldn't do it.
Just to piggyback off of that, man, Jaden Hood's he's an inside linebacker out of St. Thomas Aquinas. I was just surprised Miami didn't make a push harder for him. I've interviewed him, had him on my show. Great kid. He's the type of player that's going to be in your program 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
He's not going to cause controversy, drama on the sidelines. He's going to do what, you tell him to do. He's going to get good grades and, he's going to be your ideal football player. And he comes from a great football program, St. Thomas Aquinas. Yep. He's already well coached. I mean, I think his defensive coordinator is Jason Taylor.
Yep.
I mean, Chris Carter was even one of their assistant coaches in the past. I mean, so he's already coming in and he's committed to Michigan. Then Minnesota's pushing. Miami's actively recruiting him as well. But, I just felt like I don't know why Miami's not pushing harder for Jaden Hood. But, Dorian said it perfectly. Everyone deserves a second chance in life, especially, a young adult.
Yep.
He's a teenager. He's just a kid.
You know what? I wonder what goes into I mean, I don't have kids, but I wonder what goes into the decision making of kids choosing to leave South Florida for a school sight unseen.
A lot of it is the guidance around them or the non-guidance around them, but that definitely goes into it.
Yeah, and I wonder what more. I mean, although we got a really good class with some really good talent, but what more do we have to do on the field to get more elite kids? Right? Where's the motivation? It's just different with these kids today, man. The motivation is more so to join a Georgia, a team that's already winning, versus to, the college football, when Miami is winning, man, it is nothing like it.
I think that's the problem, though, Dorian. It's like these kids, they've never seen Miami truly win. They've seen coaches giving fake promises. Yo, I'm going to bring Miami back. I'm going to bring Miami back. Like, no, like in 4 years, you're probably not going to be my coach. Like, we've seen a pattern of different kids getting recruited by different coaches. In their last 2 years, they play with a different head coach.
Right.
So I think it's that, and then their high school coaches as well. Al Golden had an awful relationship with all the high school coaches in Miami-Dade County specifically. He did not have strong ties. So, coaches, they have relationships with the Nick Sabans, with the Kirby Smarts. It's like, hey, and you might do really well here. This is a school, and they'll take care of it really well.
If when you, not to belabor this thing, but when you turn on that Alabama and Georgia game, man, it was so many kids playing in that game that we were in their top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That we just, from the Jobs to
Tyson Campbell, Surtain,
Evan Neal, Stevenson,
Dalvin Cook the third.
I don't think those guys were ever really coming here, man. I think that it's cool. I think it's cool to have Miami on that Miami hat on the table. That 30 for 30 that Billy Corbin did was the best and the worst thing that ever happened for Miami, because it just made guys like, oh, I want to go there, knowing that they're not because of the past. And it's cool to have, it's like a feather in the cap, man. Knowing they're not, they're going to take that bad. They want to go out of state. And then you got the local kids. And like you said, Paul, they'd never seen them win, but a lot of the local kids, man, Miami ain't nothing. And they're going by what their boys are saying instead of going by really what they want. So I wonder how many of these kids really want to come here, but they're just not, because you're 17. You're not making the best decision, whatever, sometimes your parents. But I think a lot of those high profile kids that we saw on Saturday night, I don't think they were ever coming here. It just looks really good to have that in your top 3.
And that's a good point, Mike. Right.
But you know what? This class seems to be different, right? It's been a while, and I've been following recruiting for a while, but this class seems to really, they've been very boisterous about banding together, right? And sticking together and making an impact coming in. We didn't see that in classes before. It was always maybe a few people like DJ Dallas and a couple kids stood out. But,
Lingered.
yeah, it lingered, right? But with this class, it just seems to be more kids.
Yeah. The same
banding
high
together.
school.
Same high school. Then you got James Williams. That was huge for us to get that kid. Even the Taylor kid. I mean, I see him online, tweeting as well as far as keeping the class together. So it'll be interesting, man. I love this class. I think it could be a little better in a few spots. But yeah. I mean, we'll see moving forward.
Before we wrap this up, what is everyone's score predictions for the Miami Hurricanes versus Virginia Cavaliers? Primetime TV, ACC network, baby. Gotta love it.
Okay. I'm going to go Miami. They're definitely going to top 30. I'm going to say Miami 41 and UVA 24.
Ross?
I got us beating Virginia 21-38. And I think they only get 21 because they got a little late score on us with some backups in.
Okay. Dorian?
I got 30. Well, wait. So which quarterback is starting for Virginia?
That's a good point.
Right. If their starter is actually starting, I think it'll be a closer game. So I'm gonna say Miami 30, Virginia 20.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. If Armstrong is starting, I got Miami 38-24. If it's that 3 quarterback with number 65, number 72, I mean, it's going to be 38-7. I mean, they have no offense, and Wake Forest is not a good football team. NC State, they're okay. They just lost their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So Miami should take care of business, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, man.
Michael McCoy Show, his radio station, Sirius XM Channel 145. Check him out. Tremendous job covering Miami Hurricanes football. He's also on WVUM 90.5 as well, student radio station for the U. I got Ross, my co-host. Go at him on Twitter, Fresh Northwest. And last but not least, we got Dorian. Follow him on Twitter as well, Miami Aficionado. Thank you, everyone, and hope everyone has a great rest of their night. And go Canes.
All right, fellas.
Thanks, man.